Thank you, everyone. Okay, so I'll be starting with bias in NLP, and I'll be covering a very generic part of the biases. So generally, whenever we address a bias, we try to click on the disparity which is present in the data or in the input that we give. So what exactly is a disparity? We can somewhat relate it to a problem statement. So there's so many problems. Like we see this bias everywhere in various NLP models. Like you see it in movies, you see it over books, you can see it in language translations. So all these examples which are like really close to our all-day lifestyle. We witness biases in natural language processing models. Now we'll see how. So generally, if anyone here is working at Google, please don't get offended. But generally, we think like Google, Facebook, Amazon, these are like really good companies, and we think that these companies are like extremely good, and we want to be in them, and we think that they are working very well, and they don't have as much as they have like error-free environment, but it's not actually true. So we'll find out how. So what happens is the Google ads are shown where they actually claim the job scales for women, and it has turned out that they show less paid jobs for the same position as what they show to a guy. Now, how exactly the model understands that it's a guy or a girl? So obviously, on prior information, which it stores, it labels through various features. It understands, okay, either it's a boy or a girl, and then like that, it actually proves that, this is a female category-based person, so they will show them less paid jobs for the same position of what a guy would be getting, and this has been proven. Similarly, Facebook is also like that, and so is with Amazon. So there was actually a campaign that was raised because, there were so many ads that were shown on Facebook with the similar problem that Google was also doing. And AI model at Amazon was not recruiting women. It was actually scraping out. So if maybe, let's say, I had a profile which was exactly similar of what a guy was having. So maybe the profile that was needed, a guy would get selected, and my profile would get rejected based on the gender. And it's not because there's an intention behind it. It's happening unintentionally, and that is the bias which is behind it. So we'll find how exactly these companies are now working to scrap that out. So like I said, it's not only with jobs, it's there with our everyday life. So it says, she is in police and he is a nurse. If I pronounce it wrongly, then please pardon me. Siya ay nasa policia, siya ay isang nurse. When I'm translating it, it is taking a common siya, which is he and she. It's common for both in Filipino from English. But when I retranslate it, it's actually what it's doing is the first siya, which was a she in the first statement, has been taken as a he. So, generally whenever we think of cops, whenever we think of police, well, we say policemen. We usually never say policewoman. I mean, there can be a girl also, right? It's not necessary that all police people are boys or are guys. So these are the basic biases which are actually present in these models, which we actually don't realize. So it's something which is there, and its occupations are again decided by genders. Whenever we say call the cops, we never think that a police cab would be coming with 4 or 5 women in it. We generally think, male police would be arriving. I think that's here in Germany as well, right? Right? Yeah, so exactly. So even Google Translation has not actually worked well. It has failed here by not correcting the right gender. So obviously in books also there's bias present. Like if you see, generally you say the girl is going to take care of the house and the boy will go out and work. The girl would cook, the boy would do something else, maybe eat or whatever. So even in these basic examples, and this is a book for a toddler. I mean, it's not something that is there for somebody who's like well-educated. It's even in the beginning, from very beginning, that's what we're actually consuming, and we're not even realizing that it's actually not right. There's a bias even here. So that's what I said initially, that even our lifestyle is filled with so many biases. With Disney movies, I think most of you must have seen, even though I see more guys, but I think that's okay. We generally see that, maybe it's Snow White or Cinderella. In the end, the prince comes at the climax and he fixes everything. And the girl is suffering. Maybe her sisters are not helping her, or maybe, her mother is not helping her. So, it's why do we need to introduce a male character to sort of solve the problem? Why not we can deal with the protagonist itself, even though all these are female-driven films. All of them have a protagonist who are women. I mean, Snow White was a woman. It was all based on her life. But in the end, the prince comes and, the apple that she eats comes out because of the horse and everything. So, those things are there, that it has to be introduced through a prince, considering this example. Now, I'm not too sure if you guys know about it, but generally what happens in Bollywood movies, like I said, in movies, so this is a very basic example. Whatever characteristics we associate for a hero is not generally how we associate for the heroine, as in for the actress. Now here, I'll read out the dialogue. Rohit is an aspiring singer who works as a salesman in a car showroom run by Mr. Malik. One day, he meets Sonia, daughter of Mr. Saxena, when he goes to deliver a car to her home as her birthday present. So what exactly is something that you can find out from here? Can anyone actually try? What is the disparity in this dialogue? We'll obviously discuss it in the further slides, but if anyone can still catch, the description says Rohit is an aspiring singer, and he's a salesman, and he's going to deliver a car and etc. And Sonia is daughter of Mr. Saxena. Sorry? Girls are pampered. But yeah, it says a salesman. Okay, so I'll explain you. So here if you see, there's an undervalue statement that Sonia Saxena is just daughter of Mr. Saxena. There's no description given. It's just daughter of Mr. Saxena. Whereas both of them are leading people. One is the boy, one is the girl. Rohit is the boy. He has been given a really long description that, he's a salesman, he wants to be a singer, he's going to deliver a car, etc., etc. But for the girl, it's just that she's daughter of somebody. Is that description enough to actually make you realize that what is the personality of this person? I mean, it could have written it in the other way also, that Rohit is a boy, and maybe she graduated, or she's staying there, or she's saying nothing has been described about her. Only a simple line has been given that she's the daughter of Mr. Saxena. So these undervalued statements, which we generally ignore, actually help us in finding the bias. And the entire description that says is basically that she's getting a present, but the way it has been picturized, that we not intent on looking on these critical points, but we actually focus on the outcomes, which is very basic and simple, and it's too direct. Yet we chose to chose to miss out these critical points and the undervalued statements. So obviously, had I not pinpointed it, I don't think most of you must have actually figured it. So it's very difficult to actually detect bias like that. So how should one actually try to do it? What are the ways? So it's very simple to detect bias. You need to analyze the basic stereotypes which we actually miss out. You need to develop a data set in such a way that you are able to pinpoint the D-bias, and you're able to put that as an input so that your training model works accordingly and gives you the best accuracy results. So it's very important to make a data set which is D-biased. And obviously, then your model would be developed using machine learning algorithm. Okay, so how do you analyze the stereotypes? There are broadly 3 characteristics. Through words, right? If I say she's a pretty girl, it's very obvious. If I just say, oh, there's somebody, she's looking very pretty like that, or maybe something, it's very obvious that, it's for a girl, right? Whenever we use a guy has to be rich, a guy has to be successful, we generally don't associate these adjectives, these words, with women. So this is like a very fine line and a baseline approach. You need to work on the to work on debiasing. You need to extract the stereotypes and change it. You need to make it unanimously exclusive for both the categories. That's one, and words are the most primary thing. Then the second is the actions. Now, generally what we say is like, okay, she's a girl, she must be cooking. He's a boy, he must have gone, out to work. So we are giving these actions, these performance to a specific category without realizing. Like if you remember the book that I showed you, which was basically for a toddler, it had the same example. The girls can cook and the boys eat or play, something like that. So we are actually not realizing that we are giving these informations ourselves only. So we need to take care to remove the bias. We need to take care that we actually work on these stereotypes. So first category will be the words, the adjective. The second category belongs to the actions that we're labeling. Like if you see here, if it's visible to the people at the back also, it says that the girl marries. And here it says the boy beats. So it's very like regressive, but there are some places where it actually happens. That, girls are actually, they consider that, we'll just put them inside the house and they'll be working. Or the boys would go out and work and they can, rule the world and everything. So we don't realize, but these actions are also there. So we need to work on that. And finally, we have the occupation. Like the example I gave in the translation one, that she is a police, but it came out to be he is a police. These occupations also play an important role. So generally, we come across that, girls are generally teachers, secretaries. We never think of a girl as a sports person. Even in this example, I don't think so they also have it. Yeah, they don't have it. It's not even there. I mean, it's so rare and it's so less in number. Otherwise, we at least think of it, okay, boys would become, maybe less, maybe more, but at least we have that window open in our heads. It's not even open for women. Doctors, extremely less. Police officers, extremely less. Students, we generally think, okay, they're good, some of them would be even less interested or would not be interested, or sometimes we force. So that number also decreases. So these occupations that we, label are also playing an important part, which we don't realize. So that's one more thing. Now, how do we, so for like I said about the movies, for data set, generally what was seen was there were 400 plus movies from 1970 to 2017, and only 5,058 female cast members were there. But for the guys, there were 9,380. So these things we don't realize that it's almost half the number, approximately. So in general, for actors, actresses, for any occupation, the number goes half, other than if it's a teaching job or if it's a secretary job, jobs which are actually labeled for women. And these are the things, whenever we train a model, we miss out on these informations, and that's why biases are actually seen in our model. So whenever we are making a model in such a way that it has to be uniform, we need to take care of these points, because these are some points which are not available. You just pick out the information, maybe online, or you recreate. While you're creating also, we generally overlook these, and we create the data set, and we train a model, and then, afterwards we realize that there are some biases present. So it's very important to work with them. Like considering this data set only, it can be found with this link. So you guys can also see it. For the same example that I gave, I'll be showing you some results later on. So if you see, the red one is for girls, and the blue one is for boys. So there are like there's few Bollywood movies. If you see, there has been like, I think not more than 5 movies would be, where 70% of the information is about a girl. Maybe you might not know the context also, but even if through the imagery you can't find that, okay, this much has been the participation by a woman and this much has been the participation by a boy. So even with these figures, we understand that we are actually taking them out even though they are the protagonists. So we tend on losing this kind of information. So if you see, basically, if you see the percentage, it was extremely less in initial from 1970s to 2000, and then it actually, it was a strong inclination upwards, and then it became again constant, and there was an uphill again. So why? Because generally around this time, there were very few female-centric movies. Then few of them, like biopics and etc., were made, which again is a story of a woman. It's not basically a common film or a common movie where the guy and the girl is there. It's only dependent on the women. That's why the graph has increased. So that's one thing. So the growth is less than 5% in I think 20 to 30 years. Now, how exactly the bias can be removed, which we've seen so far, which is very important. So this De-CogTeller has been invented by IBM at India. I'm not too sure if the German IBM is aware about it, but it has been, I'm not sure about it, but yeah. So they've been working because it's basically based on a movie data set. So I don't think so they would know about it. But what exactly is here is that they're giving the facts, which is very common, like how the basic NLP model works. You give the information, then you perform the word embedding problem, you generate the word embedding, and then you specify gender-based, like how we were associating teachers and secretaries, okay, female, okay, this is like male, okay, that is common, can be done by both of them, something like that. And then what you do is, after that, when you've given a biased data, you extract, okay, all the information, the occupation, everything has been extracted. Then you interchange it and you check the plausibility of it. So you are here the information has been interchanging based on the gender, and you check how accurate is it. And that's how your bias can be removed. So generally what we do is we don't follow this step. We don't follow anything from here. We don't follow it. We follow the first flowchart and the second one, but we don't go generally for the third one. Until and unless we work it out for both the genders, how would we know that there's a possibility for females also to be in that part? Otherwise, we'll again have that Google translation problem statement that was there. We'll witness more examples like that. So that's one. And this is extremely important because this is how that gender thing would be removed. If we change the gender, you'll understand, okay, so there is a possibility that even a female can be a police cop. So that's very important. Now, how does this algorithm actually work, the De-CogTeller? You can search it online also. There's a paper. I'll show the reference also. So you generally pre-process your data. You generate the word vectors. After performing this, you extract the information. And then when you classify what you try to do it in both the ways. You interchange the information and check how well is it working. And this is generally for the movie data because that's what I've been focusing more on. And then you detect bias based on the actions. Okay, so if it was working for both of them, then it's fine. If it was not working, then there's a bias. Then you work on it. And then after working on it, your bias has been removed. So if you see the gender predictions, the accuracy for the movie data set which was there, it was following the KNN machine learning algorithm, if you guys are aware of it. Anybody has any doubt? Okay. Yeah, so the KNN algorithm was working. So for k equal to 1, it was like there's a huge inclination angle. But for the green one, it was initially steady, but in the end, it went up. The orange one, where k was actually 50, the orange one was constant. It was not constant, but then it steadily increased. In the end, there was a uphill point. So the maximum accuracy that has been achieved is when k is equal to 1. So that's the maximum accuracy you can get for your bias removal for the movie data set. And this is for the training data. So as accurate you can work on your training data, it's far more, because the testing data, the accuracy even decreases. So you need to really work on the training data to remove the bias. So this is the de-biasing system. I'm following the same example here as well. So Rohit is an aspiring singer who works as a salesman in a car showroom run by Mr. Malik. One day he meets Sonia, daughter of Mr. Saxena, when he goes to deliver the car at a place on her birthday. Now here if you see how basically De-CogTeller has been working, is basically that Rohit, because it's a salesman, it has already selected it as that he's a singer, he wants to deliver, he has aspires, like he has desires. So all of that has been labeled to the blue, if you can see this tree, they've been assigned the blue label, which is figuring that, all this is somewhat labeled and characterized towards what a guy would like or a guy would be. The pink one, where it's indicating Sonia, is actually just giving that she is a girl because she's a daughter. So only that much information has been received. So when you de-bias this information, now what is happening is Rohit, she, it has now taken it as she, is a saleswoman. Now it has changed the gender, like the work in terms of gender. And it says that Rohit is an aspiring singer who works as a saleswoman. So now the name remains the same, but the characteristic that was all about the guy has been changed for a girl. So here the information has been changed from salesman to a saleswoman. And that she has dreams and she wants to aspire, still remains of that of a boy. Because that, again, is not changed. The only information that has been taken out is that Rohit is a saleswoman. So because of saleswoman, it has taken it to be that Rohit is a woman. But here, again, the other information that she's an aspiring singer or whatever has not been converted. So there's another bias here also. And similarly with Sonia, the daughter of has been swapped to son of. So that information has changed. Sonia anyway didn't have much labels. She just had that, she's a daughter, which has now been changed to to son of. But here, like you see, the deliver and the aspiring feature has not been changed. So that this is also again with de-biased text. So there's still a bias present in that. It's not yet biased completely. So this is the reference. You guys can, I think the PPT would be shared, I believe. Yeah, so you can go through these papers and you can, refer it from here. It's basically a research paper. I can show you also. Oh, it's not selecting the entire thing. 1 second. There's a space. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not taking that thing completely. Okay, I'm not too sure why it's not working. Sorry? Oh, okay, yeah. Size is too small.
And there's another percentage.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, finally. So you can, yeah, you can follow these research papers also to know more how to remove bias, because this topic was basically on gender bias, because we were figuring on the basic level 101. So that's what it has seen. It's a really good paper. You can refer it. And yeah, there's one more publication. You can see that as well. Wait, I'll open that also. Yeah, I'll take care of it. I think this one should work properly. Oh no. No, it's wait. Does this work? Yeah, so this is also it's basically from Ukraine and Russia. You can follow this link as well. It's also very handy. And also for the data set, it's available here. You can see that. I've mentioned that in the presentation as well. So if you want to reach out to me, that's my Twitter handle, LinkedIn. You can mail me. I have a YouTube channel also for various technocrats to come on board and discuss various problems that they've been facing and how exactly they've gained recognition. So what I do is I do a Q&A series where I call a lot of great technocrats on my channel and I ask them questions, how exactly you went there and what are the scholarship opportunities, how did you apply? Maybe somebody's working at Google or anywhere, so what are the resources to follow? So if you're interested, you can also volunteer yourself as a speaker. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
We still have a bit of time for questions, so if you have any questions about this amazing topic, please go ahead.
Comment. I checked with Bangla, and it is the same. So, like Bengali language, English to Bengali, Bengali to English, and I realized it is the same, even when Bengali is an almost gender neutral language. So yeah, this is an issue now.
So we generally don't change the interpolarity of these statements, and it's very common. You try it with other languages also, and I'm sure they're going to work like this only. It's going to fail. I chose a language which was familiar for people here to understand, because then Hindi languages, the letters and alphabets would be difficult to interpret by them.
Okay. But Hindi and most other languages already have gender in their sentences. So I would probably understand if machine learning algorithms would take it, but Bangla is an almost gender neutral language, so I did not expect that. So.
Yeah. Even in Hindi, we generally say that, it's specific for a man, if you say that I'm going, it's probable that I'm going would be said by a boy, because the verbs are like that. But even in Hindi, when you go for more complex sentences, not just I am going, because when you train your model, you just don't, input these information. You give a lot of information. So those informations are also not really bias-free. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. So you mentioned that the model you're using, that is you are trying to remove the bias based on other text, right? From news text in this example. But isn't that really dangerous because actually all texts have these biases, so you're actually trying to remove biases with biased text?
So, thank you for that question. So it's not, that's what I said, it's not, it has not completely removed the bias. If you saw that example, that deliver thing and this aspiring thing was still in blue. Okay? So it's not completely removing it, but it's giving an intuition that it's possible with the other person as well. So it's actually working very well. Obviously, there are few points which can still be worked on, like you said, that because this was basically on a particular data set. It has not been universally accepted. So I think IBM is still working on it, but for now, this is just based on one product. But yeah, it's not completely removing it. It's still working on that complete part. And I think they will never work on the complete thing because then again, it's not right for any ML model. You need to introduce bias also at times. So that's why that blue thing was again still there. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Would you say that this approach to reduce bias is more applicable to certain problems? Because we've made the experience that for a lot of models, if you reduce the bias in the data, the model gets worse at predicting because the data you get in still will be biased. So if you predict the genre of a film, your model is going to get worse. Where I would see this to be very useful is things where it would be really horrible if this bias creeps in. Like if you want to have a machine learning algorithm that predicts something for like hiring decisions or something. So would you say that certain problems are more prone to this, or where this would be more useful?
Thank you for the question. So if in the beginning I showed that Google and Facebook, all of them had already they had developed a model which was not accepting or was not giving that much of pay scale, or were not accepting them as recruiters or anything if it were a girl or if it was a female candidate. So generally this bias is mainly where there has been applications where there's been a rejection based on gender. It's not universally, it's not universally accepted for all the applications. It's restricted to gender-based approaches only for now. But like you said, it can really work well, maybe with cabs and all, when we can actually say, if that's the area which is not very safe for women, then, give them priority. Maybe there should be a service which should be, readily available or something like that. So these biases are introduced to focus more on how to prevent the imagery of a gender which is not giving that much of coverage. Anything else? Anybody has a question? Yes?
So this means all our data sets must be cleaned this way, more or less. Have you an example which is the biggest relevant data set which has been already cleaned, or is it just in the future?
So, like I said, you need to make a data set because data sets are very raw, they're not cleaned. Even if you're creating your own, you need to clean that up. So you need to work on that part manually, and then you need to, obviously you can apply some ML models for that, but the cleaning part and all the considerations has to be done manually, considering all the options available. Yeah, because there hasn't been a system to develop the cleaning. There has been a system to detect after cleaning, but the development part is not yet considered. Anybody else has a question? I think we're done. So, thank you. So you can mail me if there is still some question left. So thank you, everyone. I actually flew down from India to give this talk, and it's been a great experience at Berlin Buzzwords. So thank you so much.